We're making a creamy and high protein chicken pot pie soup without any heavy cream, and that's gluten-free without any flour. We're blending a few extra veggies into a flavorful broth and pan-searing our chicken first, which is the secret to extra flavor. Hello, my name is Nicole Bonilla, and if you love healthier recipes to our favorite foods, then you are in the right place. Now you're welcome to jot down these ingredients as we go along, or you can click on the link that's in the video description below. And that will take you to the full recipe with all the details, including nutrition facts, ingredients and substitutions, and frequently asked questions. Now I highly recommend prepping all your ingredients before you start making the soup. So I've diced up half of an onion, and you can use yellow or white. I've diced up 1 yellow zucchini, and then I've minced 5 cloves of garlic. And then I have 2 golden potatoes that I chopped down, as well as 2 carrots. And I diced 2 stalks of celery. And then I have 1 cup of peas and 1 cup of corn that we're going to stir in towards the end. Now most recipes will just have you put your chicken into your boiling stock, but I find you get so much more flavor if you'll pan sear it first. But before we pan sear it, I want to tenderize and season it to give it the most flavor. So I just put 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts into this plastic bag, and then I'm just going to use my rolling pin and I'm just going to pound it a little bit till they're a little more even. And then I'm just going to transfer them both to a plate. And I'm going to season both sides with some salt. And I'm going to sprinkle on about a teaspoon of some garlic powder and just a dash of black pepper. And then we'll flip these over and repeat. Now we're ready to start pan searing and cooking up our soup. Now to cook the soup, you could use any sturdy bottom pot or an enamel Dutch oven. I love using my Hexclad pot because it gives me the best of stainless steel, non-stick, and cast iron. And I included a link in the description below if you'd like to check them out. So after bringing my pan to a medium-high heat, I'm just going to drop in 1/4 cup of butter. Now we're going to drop in our onions and our yellow zucchini. And then we'll quickly stir those around so they get coated in the butter. Of course, season with a little bit of salt. And now we just want to cook these down for about 3 to 4 minutes or until they're nice and soft. And if you add a lid to your pan, it's going to help speed that up. And then I'll just come in and stir it occasionally. So it's been about 4 minutes, and I can tell that the onion and that yellow squash is nice and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my 5 cloves of minced garlic. Give those a good stir. And I'll let those cook for about another minute to bloom the garlic. And in the meantime, we want to prep our stock. Now you could use either 4 cups of chicken stock, or I really like just using this better than bouillon, because all you have to do is add this to hot water and you don't have to store cartons of chicken stock. So for 4 cups of chicken stock, it's about 1½ tablespoons. So I'm just going to add that right here to the hot water. And then to make it a little bit creamier, I like to add some milk, and you could use any variety that you like. I love using my almond milk, and especially the milk that I make using my almond cow almond milk maker. It is seriously the best for making creamy almond milk in less than 2 minutes, and it gives you complete control over all the ingredients. And I included a link in the description below if you'd like to check it out. So I'm going to add 1 cup of almond milk. I can tell by the fragrance that our garlic is nice and bloomed, so these vegetables are done. So I'm going to carefully just transfer them to a bowl. And while our pan is still on a nice medium-high heat, I'm just going to add about 2 tablespoons of some light olive oil. We'll let that get nice and hot. Now we can lay in our chicken breasts. And that instant sizzle is exactly what we're going for. So we're going to cook these for about 3 to 4 minutes, or until we get a nice brown sear on the bottom, because color equals flavor. And while the chicken is cooking, we'll go ahead and add our vegetables to our blender. And I love blending the zucchini and vegetables into the broth because it makes them less detectable and they are easiest to digest. So we'll just put on our lid and blend until smooth. And then we'll just let this hang out until we're done pan searing our chicken. So it's been about 4 minutes. We'll go ahead and flip over these chicken breasts. And ooh, got some nice color on the bottom. And then we'll just let them go for about another 4 minutes to pan sear this side. So it's been about 3 minutes, and we'll take a look underneath. And ooh, we got some nice color under our chicken as well. So now we want to make sure we get all this delicious chicken bits that's on the bottom of our pan. So I'm just going to put 1 piece of chicken on top of the other one. And I'm just going to carefully pour in a little bit of our stock. And then come in with my sturdy spatula and just start scraping the bottom of the pan to loosen up all those yummy bits of flavor. And move the chicken to the other side. Then we can go ahead and pour in the rest of our stock. And then we can add in our seasonings, which is 1 tablespoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, a teaspoon of salt, and a dash of black pepper. And then we're going to drop in about 6 bay leaves that we'll make sure to take out before we serve our soup. And then we'll give these a good stir. And we're going to add in our 2 golden potatoes, as well as our 2 carrots and our 2 stalks of celery. We'll give those another stir. And then we'll let this simmer for about 15 minutes, which is going to cook through our chicken as well as soften the vegetables. Well, our soup has been simmering for 15 minutes. So go ahead and pull off our lid. Now I'm going to fish out my chicken. Now for the peas and corn, you could use frozen, but if you are, I recommend putting them into a bowl and microwaving them so that they're warm before you put them into your soup. So I'm going to add 1 cup of peas and 1 cup of corn. So I'll just take 2 forks and start shredding this chicken. And oh, you can see how nice and juicy and soft that is. Now, if you could use more healthy inspiration on a regular basis, I invite you to join my email list. All you have to do is click on the link in the video description below, and that is the best way for us to stay connected. Now that our chicken is all shredded, we'll go ahead and drop it back in our soup. Now I'll just give this a good stir. I'll add our lid back on. And then we're going to let this simmer for another 5 minutes to let the peas and the corn really heat through and for that chicken to really soak in that broth. Now it's very important that our soup is not simmering when we add our Greek yogurt. So we're going to go ahead and remove the pot from heat. So the first thing I want to do is go in and fish out our bay leaves. Now we're going to stir in 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt, and I like using the full fat for the most creaminess. Now you could also use whipped cottage cheese instead, or you could just omit this if you like. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in the Greek yogurt. Since the soup is nice and warm, it's only going to take less than a minute for that Greek yogurt to mix in. And now this gorgeous soup is ready to serve. I love all those beautiful colors in there. Get a nice bite, make sure it's not too hot. That is delicious. As soon as you bite in, you get all those pot pie flavors. I love the soft, creamy potatoes, and then that chicken is just really juicy. And I love the subtle creaminess coming in from the Greek yogurt. That is seriously so good, and I would have never guessed that there were onions and zucchini blended into the broth. It is just super flavorful. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today in my kitchen, and I've included a link to the full recipe in the video description below, and that will take you to my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I invite you to join me again in my kitchen.